Is this the best title race since, I guess, the last time Bayern didn't win it and Dortmund did, which was over a decade ago now?
Well, there have been one or two really intriguing title races, Seb. When you think back to 2018, 2019, maybe some people forget that Dortmund actually had a 9-point lead in that particular campaign, and they lost it. But I think the fact that if you look at the sequence of events since the resumption after the World Cup, that was in January, Dortmund have picked up 28 points, Bayern a mere 18. So the tables have been turned. This time, Bayern had the 9-point cushion, and Dortmund have managed to forge ahead. Thanks to that remarkable final weekend before the international break, Dortmund thrashed Köln 6-1, and then the following day, Bayern crashed against Leverkusen, having taken the lead. And here we are. It truly is a title race, and I would argue the most intriguing title race of any top league in Europe at the moment.
So you and I both from time to time, Derek, will appear on ESPN FC, and our colleague on that show, Janaga Fjortov, always uses the term Hollywood FC or FC Hollywood to describe Bayern Munich. Obviously, we've seen in the last week just incredible turnover there at the managerial position. I think for a lot of people, it was a shock. How different is what we're seeing now to just the usual FC Hollywood of Bayern Munich?
Well, this is FC Hollywood and then some. I think Jan is absolutely right. There's always this element of drama, of soap opera at Bayern. And if you look at the column inches in the media devoted to Germany's record champions, then really it speaks for itself. But I'll tell you, last week, I took a few days off thinking that, I want to recharge my batteries for Bayern Dortmund. I want to be ready for it. So I went to Scotland to visit family. And lo and behold, my father, when I got home from a wonderful night out eating Indian food with my sister, said, "You'll never guess your friend Mr. Nagelsmann has been sacked." And I thought, have you got this right? So I quickly checked, and of course it had just happened, and Thomas Tuchel coming in. Nobody saw this coming at all. Nobody. If anybody says they knew this was going to happen 2 or 3 days before it did, they're being economical with the truth. It really was down to a few different factors. I think sometimes it can be that. It can be an accumulation of things that happen at a club. The last straw was what happened against Leverkusen in that game. Hasan Salihamidzic, the sporting director, and Oliver Kahn, the CEO, were less than pleased. But there had been other issues sort of bubbling under the surface. But it's a really bold step. It's an expensive step as well. I mean, this is costing Bayern a lot of money when you consider that, all told, they paid 25 million euro to Leipzig to get Nagelsmann in the first place. And Tuchel is not cheap either, rumored to be on around 12 million euro a year. So you get the picture. This is a gamble because Bayern are fearful that they're not going to meet their season targets.
Derek, I want to drill down on a couple of guys that are of particular interest to our audience. I think Alphonso Davies, when you talk about guys in CONCACAF, he's right at the top of the list, so we might as well start there. When Bayern brings in Joao Cancelo, I'm thinking this could be a challenge for Alphonso Davies. This isn't a guy who's considered one of the best left backs in the world, and yet if you look at the playing time since, he hasn't really moved Davies at all from that position. I mean, Alphonso Davies, we're kind of running out of things to say about him, but he is really world class. And I feel like in the last few months with Cancelo right there, he's proven it.
I think so. I mean, I think Cancelo coming in, many of us thought, he'll play on the right, he'll play on the left. He'll give Davies a break from time to time, but Davies remains very much the incumbent. What I would say is I think there has been a slight, I'm really using the word slight here, a slight form dip where Davies is concerned. It's all relative. I mean, he's a very good player. It's natural that players are going to just drop off a little bit. And I think he has done in certain games, but you're right. He still has been the player of choice on that left-hand side, and he still can do things that most other players are not capable of doing. As I say, Cancelo's interesting because I think the expectation was you're going to bring him in and he's going to play an awful lot, but hasn't really fired so far. But yeah, Davies will start this game. I'm sure of that on Saturday against Dortmund. And I'm sure Thomas Tuchel is very much looking forward to working with the Canadian.
We kind of look at what the odds makers are doing and see if we can pick any winners for our most faithful viewers. So obviously, this game is massive. It's going to be on ABC. We're going to have a lot of neutrals watching. So let's make it interesting for the folks at home. When I think of a classic, I kind of have two rules. I think teams are going to usually in those games be a little bit more close, almost like a final. So I like to look at the under, but then when I think of Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, the history between these two teams, the talent on the field, I start to think about the over. So help me there. What kind of game do you think that we get when these two square off? Will it be goals galore or something else?
Well, normally I would say goals galore. I just wonder with Thomas Tuchel coming in. Tuchel to me is the ultimate pragmatist as coaches go. You know, he will adapt to the players he has rather than coming in and imposing his will. It's funny, people who followed him at Chelsea probably see him as quite a defensive, obdurate coach. In Germany, not so much with Mainz and with Dortmund. But I do think that first and foremost, he'll want to shore things up after what happened against Leverkusen. So had it been Nagelsmann against Edin Terzic, I might have said 2-2 or 3-2 or something like that. I see this being a scoring draw, but maybe not a game that's rich in goals. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 1-1. That's kind of what I've got in my head, which I think Dortmund fans will be quite happy about. Neutrals would probably be happy about it as well. And I've got in my head Marco Reus scoring for Dortmund, and I've got in my head Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting scoring for Bayern, assuming he comes back from injury. He's had back problems.
Okay, so I'm looking at the odds here. It's interesting. The odds makers think there are going to be goals. So the value really here is on the under 2.5, Derek, at plus 230, even under 3.5 goals at minus 105. So, I mean, there seems to be some good value there. Give me your goal scores again, because I want to listen to them as I take a look at the goals here. Who do you got scoring?
I'm going to give you Marco Reus to open the scoring for Dortmund.
To open the scoring, okay.
To open the scoring. I'll give you that as well, yeah. I think they're going to open the scoring, and I'm going to go for Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, the centre-forward for Bayern, to level the game, and I'll say it'll finish 1-1. Famous last words.
Okay, so Choupo-Moting, anytime score, +1.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.